In its battle against Russia, Ukraine isn't just focusing its efforts on the front line, but also in places like this, Mauritania in West Africa. In what has become an increasingly global struggle, Kyiv is on a diplomatic push to win friends in Africa. It recently opened an embassy in the Mauritanian capital, Nouakchott, one of 8 set up on the continent since Russia's 2022 invasion. One of the main tools at its diplomatic disposal has been food. Under the Grain from Ukraine initiative, launched towards the end of 2022, it has sent nearly 300,000 metric tons of food aid to the continent.
Food, animal food, anything you have on your table can be from Ukraine.
At an embassy in Kinshasa, opened in 2024, Ukraine's ambassador to Congo, Vassilian Hamyanin, said Ukraine has to, quote, be active to gain friends.
And Ukraine has a lot of things to present, a lot of things to propose, and a lot of things to get involved with on the African continent.
In Mauritania, the food aid has mostly been destined for Mbera, West Africa's largest refugee camp. It houses a soaring number of Malians fleeing violence across the border. Mali, ruled by a junta since coups in 2020 and 2021, has turned away from its traditional Western allies and embraced Russia. It employed mercenaries from the Russian Wagner group to help it battle militants and separatist rebels. Ukraine's diplomatic ambitions, however, extend beyond humanitarian aid. Amid rising tensions between Mauritania and Mali, it's also offering to train Mauritanian soldiers. That's according to Ukraine's top envoy to Africa, Maxim Subich.
Ukraine is ready to share its experience in countering the threats we face here in Ukraine. And I mean, first and foremost, Wagner and similar paramilitary groups. Terrorist organizations that are actively destabilizing security and stability across a number of countries in the Sahel region.
які, власне, і розхитують стабільність і безпеку на території низки країн регіону Сахель.
The Mauritanian government and Russia's foreign ministry did not respond to requests for comment. Early in the war, many African countries declined to take Ukraine's side at the United Nations. That's even as the Russian bombing of Ukrainian ports curtailed exports of food and fertilizer, driving up prices on the continent. Ukraine also faces significant challenges in competing with Russia's much more established presence in Africa. Moscow's soldiers and mercenaries operate in several West and Central African countries. Russian mining companies are entrenched in the Sahel region. In June, the Kremlin said Russia would increase its own cooperation with African countries, including in sensitive areas such as defense. And there have been setbacks for Ukraine. A planned Africa summit in Kyiv was downgraded to a video conference after it became clear the October event would be a flop. Moscow hosted a well-attended Africa summit in 2023. Tim Murithi of the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation in Cape Town said that initially Ukraine's policy seemed, quote, fairly incoherent.
But I think you saw this transition gradually towards a much more focused approach.
Murithi said this can be shown in President Volodymyr Zelensky's engagement with the African Union and with African leaders at UN meetings. In April, Zelensky became the first Ukrainian president to visit South Africa, a close Russia ally. He played up potential deals on energy, fertilizer production, and security. And he also called for recognition of Ukraine's struggle, something that Subich says Kyiv wants to persuade African countries has parallels with their own battle against European colonialism.
Тут важливо, щоб африканські народи зрозуміли, що Україна зараз
It's important that the African people understand that Ukraine is also struggling for its own freedom, independence, and sovereignty.
суверенітет.
These all are gifts from my friends.
Back at the embassy in Congo's Kinshasa, Ukrainian patches and medals sit alongside a picture of Congolese independence hero Patrice Lumumba. And on the wall, a Chinese banner.
Fight resilience, so we fight. Fight for independence, fight for happiness, fight for our loved ones. That's very important for me, so I have it like a